Just a beautiful song. Thank you to Andrea Bocelli and his daughter Virginia for that, and for Kerry, who picked our theme today, the music, and she'll tell you about it in just a moment. I'm Sandra. If we haven't yet met, welcome to our Sunday gathering. Each and every week at this time, we do our very best to inspire you, empower you, maybe put a little joy, maybe a smile on the face. Yes, maybe just. With the reality that the afterlife is real, that our loved ones have lived on, that we will see them again. So each week we have a different theme. We often have some different folks. Today we're joined by the beautiful Shirley and Sharp, and it's Kerry and myself. We're together for about 90 minutes-ish, sometimes plus or minus, and we do our very best to help you remember that you are a divine soul having a human experience. You are never alone, and you're very, very special. So even though we are a remote community, meaning we're all looking at our devices right now, we are very real. And those lights in front of Andrea and Virginia remind me, or that's what I picture when I imagine the globe spinning and all of us watching the Sunday gathering together are those lights. So we welcome you here. I'm going to turn it over to Kerry to introduce our theme and for the opening prayer.
Thank you very much, Sandra, and thank you for joining us at the last minute, Shirley Ann. I will explain to people why we have Shirley Ann, although it's a great pleasure to have you here, Shirley Ann. Before I proceed, Phil wished me to share why he's not here. Sadly, his dad passed to the spirit world last week, and he's spending some time with family in contemplation, but he also wished for me to say thank you to everybody who has reached out and sent him their thoughts, sent him some funny, what they called emojis, stories, and just words of support. So thank you very much. He doesn't want anybody to feel sorry for him. He just wants you to know that he's feeling very much blessed by this community who have been reaching out to him. Today, the theme is the power of feeling. Feelings, whether they are the feelings we would choose to have or the feelings that we tend to shirk away from. The songs today will all hopefully stir something in you. I've left one of my favourite songs to the end. It's either you're going to love it or you're going to hate it. There's generally nothing in between, so hang on to have a look at that. I'm going to be doing the opening prayer. Sandra's going to be doing the reading and the healing. Shirley Ann sharing the address and the mediumship. And then Sandra's going to offer words of the week, and we'll close down at the end with the song. So if you can join me, whoever your God is, join me in prayer. Divine and ever-present Spirit, within this space we feel your power. Within this sacred space, we know that we are enveloped within your love. We know that we come together within this time to be with friends across our beautiful planet, to feel that communion with each other and that communion with our family, friends and animals in the spirit world. If one thing has shown us in nearly our 6th year of the Sunday gathering, it's that we don't die, regardless of where we are, whether we are living a physical life or whether we have moved to that spiritual world, we are still alive. The pain of losing people to that unseen world hits our heart, comes in waves, and is sometimes so painful it catches our breath. And yet we know there is life beyond. Allow us to take solace at this time, to know that our loved ones who have transitioned are now in a world where there is no fear and no pain. And for those left here, may they have that comfort of knowing that the spirit world embraces all, regardless of colour, creed, religion, culture. The spirit world envelops and embraces everybody. So allow us today to celebrate that power of feeling. Amen.
Thank you so much, Kerry. And now for the reading. Yeah, I was contemplating what to read about when Kerry picked this theme, but I saw a video yesterday that reminded me of the presence of being in the present moment. In fact, when we're talking about feelings, we human beings tend to live very often in the past or in the future, and our feelings dictate that. So, I thought today I would do a reading and just see if we can all get into that present moment, not contemplating the rest of the Sunday gathering or what else you need to do today or anything like that or what the music's going to be, but just be present and just see what feelings come about. Okay? It's a little experiment we're going to do. So, if you're in the present moment and you're hanging on my every word, I'm going to read to you the parable of the squirrel and the acorn. Once upon a time, in a small, peaceful town, there lived a squirrel named Sammy. Sammy was a very ambitious squirrel. While most squirrels were content to gather acorns, Sammy dreamed of becoming the richest squirrel in the forest. Every day he would scamper around, collecting acorns and burying them in various secret spots. One day, as Sammy was busy burying his acorn treasure, he overheard a group of animals chatting nearby. I heard that old Mr. Owl has a stash of golden acorns, said Benny the bunny. Golden acorns, gasped Sally the sparrow. They say they sparkle in the sunlight and are worth 100 regular acorns. Sammy's eyes gleamed with excitement. Oh, if I could just find those golden acorns, I'd be the richest squirrel ever, he thought. Determined, Sammy set off to find Mr. Owl. After a long search, he finally found the wise owl perched on a branch, looking very wise, as owls often do. Mr. Owl, Sammy squeaked, I heard you have golden acorns. Can you share them with me? Mr. Owl chuckled softly and said, Ah, Sammy, golden acorns are not for sharing. They are for those who truly understand their value. But I'm ambitious. I want to be the richest, Sammy pleaded. Very well, said Mr. Owl with a twinkle in his eye. If you want to find the golden acorns, you must first find the three treasures of wisdom, kindness, and humility. Sammy was puzzled, but determined. He set out on his quest. He first encountered a family of hedgehogs struggling to cross a small stream. Instead of rushing past like he normally would, he stopped and he helped them safely across and learned the value of kindness. Next, Sammy met with a wise old tortoise who was lost. Instead of trying to impress him with his speed, Sammy slowed down and took the time to listen and helped guide him home, learning the importance of humility. Finally, Sammy came across a baby bird that had fallen from its nest. He helped the little bird back into its home, realizing that wisdom comes from helping others. After his adventures, Sammy returned to Mr. Owl, who smiled knowingly. Have you found the treasures? He asked. Yes, Sammy exclaimed. I've learned kindness, humility, and wisdom. Then you are ready, said Mr. Owl, and with a flap of his wings, he revealed a hidden stash of golden acorns. Sammy's eyes widened in awe, but then he paused. Wait, Mr. Owl, I think I understand now. The real treasure isn't the golden acorns, but the joy of helping others and the friends I've made along the way. Mr. Owl nodded. You see, Sammy, the richest squirrel is not the one with the most acorns, but the one whose heart is full of love and generosity. From that day on, Sammy became known not as the richest squirrel, but as the kindest. His heart was full, and he shared his acorns with all, creating a joyful community in the forest. And so, dear friends, remember, true wealth does not come from what we possess, but from the kindness we share and the love that we give. Thank you for listening to my story. Now, my experiment was hopefully just to center us and be back in the present moment, and for us each to create that space of kindness and love, because now we're going to go into our healing. And with that beautiful heart-centered feeling that hopefully we all have, remembering our fellow human beings and the joy of making a difference, we can do that through our healing thoughts. Kerry has picked a beautiful Josh Groban song. And as we sit for healing, one can pay attention to the song and the music, and that's fine. Often we find ourselves daydreaming about what we have to do. So I'm going to ask you to just reel back a little and think of those in the world that have needs for healing, physical, emotional. I know we have many folks who are grieving in our community. Plus, there's the earth and the animal kingdom, and many places there's unrest. And if we can picture them healthy, whole, and well, just like Sammy the squirrel, and just be present with our love and trust that those in the unseen world use our human energy and direct it to where it is needed in the world. And I've got a special prayer in my heart for you and for everyone on this Sunday gathering as well. So let's listen now to Josh Groban's song, Awake.
Hello to everyone all around the world. And isn't this a magic device that we're on? Zoom. We can all come together. It never ceases to amaze me how we can all come together in our home, in our bedroom, in our lounge, wherever we may be, on the top of a hill with an amazing view. And I must say today that the theme of the power of feelings, the music so far has invoked so much feeling, many different types of feeling, even to bring a tear to my eye. We all have memories with music, but the feelings, the power of feelings is probably our strongest aspect of being a human in the physical, the spiritual, and the mental. The power of feelings has the power literally to change our lives in so many ways. When I think of the power of feelings to do with our health, that great expression, stress is a killer. My heart is full of joy. My heart is heavy. If we look at those old expressions, they all have a story underneath that headline. And they have all become profound to all of us. We've all used them over the time for a reason. My heart is full of joy. I'm bubbling. I'm producing all those wonderful chemicals in my body of positivity, antidepressant, anti-sickness. I'm alive. I'm vibrating in this world to live and experience. But when my heart is heavy, it is the opposite effect. For we must remember that every thought we have is followed with a feeling. Every action we have is full of feelings. Every thought we have, the feeling brings it alive. It gives it energy. It gives it power. So what do you want to have power in your life within your thoughts for yourself and your loved ones, whether they be here or on the other side? Once we recognize or start to recognize, because it's not easy sometimes when you're in the middle of something that you are finding is messing up or fiddling with your whole world in perhaps not such a positive way. It's very hard to look over that hill and say, it's going to be all right. And I love that old saying, this too will pass. But as soon as you recognize your own traits of being in that situation, then we have a chance to change. So that beautiful saying of checking in with yourself. How are you feeling? How are we going inside? What's our internal doing? What is that internal chatter telling us? Because that chatter never stops. And every word has a feeling, and every feeling has a power. But that chatter goes on when you're asleep, when you're awake, when you're in the shower, when you're getting up, when you're hanging out the washing. And my good old favorite, doing the vacuum cleaning. Your mind is still working with all those thoughts, giving power to what? Positivity or not so positive? That's actually your choice. We are responsible for our being. I am responsible for me. You are responsible for you. We have the responsibility of living our life in a positive way and moving towards that through the power of feeling. Let's face it, the power of feeling we all have, it doesn't cost us anything. We don't have to leave our house to go and find it. We don't have to ring our neighbor to work it out. We have it all internally. As far as the power of feeling goes, and of course many other aspects of ourselves, we are able to control that ourselves. How many times have you come up with a situation and you've lost sleep with it in bed, you've tossed and turned, you've talked to your husband about it, you've talked to the kids about it, it's become bigger and bigger and bigger because we are investing that power of feeling into that situation. Whereas when we're in it, as Sandra was saying, when we are present in our own lives and our own situations, we are more able to cope with it as we go through it. So as we go through it, the power of the feelings that we have, we are able to release easier because we're present. We're feeling them, we're seeing them, we're knowing them, we're trying to understand them, and we have a chance to understand them. So we are able much more easily to allow those feelings just to shift to the left. They may still be there, but we've put them in a drawer on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, or you've just chucked them out totally. So that makes room for more positive feelings. The power of feelings even affects our weight. If you're not feeling good about the food you're eating, when you're eating, and who you're eating with, the digestion of that food is a proven scientific fact. The digestive system or process may be interrupted. Well, I need all the help I can get in that area. So being positive about your food. If you don't feel good about eating at that time, don't. Give it another 20 minutes. Give it another hour. Go into another environment. Maybe it's the people you're eating with. Maybe it's the environment you're in. Maybe you've got your baby poodle looking up at you saying, I want some, and you know it's no good for them. But the power of the feeling gives the thought life. And it can give it real power. You know, they say things like, well, actually, again, a scientific fact, anger, for example, someone who constantly suffers with anger, that is directly related, for example, to inflammation. And there are many, many other feelings within our bodies that are directly related to other things. I mean, look at that saying, stress is a killer. We all know that one, whether it's lack of sleep, whether it's worse, going off your food, whether it's tummy upsets, and of course, even worse. We have the opportunity to change that. Aren't we lucky? You know, not every species gets that sort of opportunity. We are intelligent enough to recognize where we are with ourselves to be able to change it. And the more we move away from the present, the more we start to worry about and invest in external situations. The further we move away from ourselves, the further we move away from our spirit, the further we move away from our own ethics and our own standards, which you may have spent a whole lifetime building. You know, the power of feelings can heal. The power of feelings can love. And each of these things have a positive side and a negative side. And it's up to us to try and recognize where we are to be able to change that path. If you think of the best you ever looking at you in the mirror, you can be 100 times more than that. Don't put limits on yourself. Again, that's a feeling. You can extend your positive power through your house, outside your house, into your neighborhood, out into your neighbors' families. You can achieve change. When I think of that other saying that I love, that gut feeling, that is your intuition. That's so strong. Do we listen? Not all the time, and often not to the most important gut feelings, because we doubt our feelings. We think we're wrong. We will think the milkman has more answers than we do about our own life. Let's have a reality check. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, and we are put here to experience emotions. And the biggest emotion that we can ever experience in our entire lives, and what the world needs constantly apart from our own lives, is love. 4 little letters. We all have different meanings behind love, but I'll tell you what, at one point they will all come together, and every one of us will have a similar to same definition of that feeling. And when that power comes together universally of a feeling, the power of feelings is phenomenal. It has been known throughout the world to heal people from serious illness, to bring people out of addictions, to bring people, dare I say it, back from the brink of nearly dying. The power of feelings is something to me that is the most powerful aspect of any human in the world. We need to try and check our feelings. When a word leaves your mouth, it holds feelings. I heard a saying many years ago, and I can't remember the author, but words get into the wallpaper, they get into your carpet, they become part of your environment. And after me saying every word holds a feeling, every thought holds a feeling, it's the same thing. We want to build our environment, our home, our spaces around us, even the car, with positivity. So the power of feeling, what have we got to feel? Love. We've got to feel it, think it, write it, enjoy it. when we don't feel positive, we do release chemicals in our body that do affect us. As I've just said, every thought has a feeling, every feeling has an effect within the body, which releases chemicals. So I want, and I'm sure you want, those positive endorphins, those positive antidepressive feelings, our hearts full of joy. And you know, joy can be laughing, but joy can also be tears. We can be feeling so loved, so wanted, so grateful for the world around us. We can be driven to tears. And that's actually another scientific experiment that I was reading up about. They analyzed the tears of joy against the tears of sadness, and there was a different chemical balance. That's pretty amazing. A teardrop from an eye can hold so much intelligence that shows the effect on our body, the effect in our thinking, and how far we move away from our spiritual self. Being kind to each other, having those words that we think before we speak. Actually, a very good friend of mine on the screen said, think 24 hours before you respond to something that may not be quite so pleasant. And I thought, what a good theory. Always think, is that response going to give that person anything positive? Is it going to help the situation? Or is it going to destroy a situation further? The power of the word, the power of the thought, all hold feelings. I'm going to leave you on that note just to ponder and hand this over to our lovely Kerry.
Thank you very much, Shirley Ann. It is lovely to hear somebody else's take. I've got some thoughts in my own mind. I never plan an address, but I've got thoughts there. And when you hear somebody else speak, there's something happens where lots of different ideas and thoughts just start pinging all over the place. So we'll see what happens when I start speaking. Now, Shirley Ann mentioned about the thoughts in the carpet and the wallpaper and the car. And I thought, there's an interesting place to start. The car. Wouldn't it be great if life handed us a manual the same way we do for our cars and our appliances and those gadgets that we get? How often do you read the manuals for the car and the gadgets? Or do you only wait till something goes wrong before you read the manual? Yes, I knew that would be you. It's me as well. Phil reads the manual from beginning to end at the very start. Not me. When it goes wrong, I then alphabetically go to the point of the thing that's wrong and find out how to fix it. But did you know we come with the manual? It's hidden. Very well, but it is there. Do you remember the old-fashioned cars that before that, it took lots of people shoving a car to start it. And then you got the old crank. Somebody out the front would be cranking up the car and somebody inside. So it took two people. And then we got the cars where you don't even need to put the key in the switch. You just need to be in the car for it to start. So what do you want your body and you to be? Do you want to need another person each time you want to kickstart yourself? Or do you want to self-start? I know which one I want to be. I don't really want to have to rely on anybody else. But if you think about where the manual is, It requires a good bit of inner engineering. You heard me right. And if you ask anybody that has an insight into themselves, they'll say that they've sat in the silence and they have meditated, or they have had some kind of process or routine that has allowed them to get to know self. When we get to know self, we begin to understand ourselves a little bit better. If we look at how our whole being is made up, we've got a physical body here surrounded by an invisible body, an etheric body. You might know it as the auric field. And within that auric field, we have different layers. The spiritual, way out here somewhere, and then moving in through the mental, the emotional, until we hit the physical. Well, when something goes wrong, it actually begins to trigger those aspects of us in our auric field way out at the spiritual level. And if we ignore them, they come into our mind and our emotions. And if we ignore them, the body ends up saying, you're not listening, so I'm going to go kaput. Just like a car. That's when we normally go to our manual. We go and look inside, don't we? How do I fix that? We go to the doctor, we might get some tablets or a process or some kind of treatment. But what if there was something more? What if there was something we could do that allowed us to pick up on things beforehand? We have eyes, we have ears, we have a mouth, we have a nose, we have skin. The element to which those all work is a very human experience. Some of our eyes and ears work better than others. Some of our taste and smell work better than others. And some of our skin works and senses better than others. But think on it. What have those 5 things got in common? They're all perceiving the world outside. Every single one of them is perceiving your external world. What part of you is looking in? What part of you is looking at the soul? What part of you is looking at your health? What part of you is connected to your spirit? If your spirit lives in that invisible world all the time, and the part that connects you to that is your soul, there's this link that only ends when the bodies can no longer sustain life. So you've got a soul in you that's connected to the spirit world and doing its very best to guide you. Shirley Ann referred to it as the gut feeling, the intuition. Well, what if that soul within you also held the manual for you to be able to live your life on purpose, to live your life completely the way your soul had decided it wanted to? Sitting in the quiet, whether it's sitting in the power, meditation, mindfulness, walking, daydreaming whilst you're doing the dishes, allowing yourself to get in touch with what's important is where your inner manual to you lives. Everybody has it. Are you going to check that manual when something goes wrong? Or do you want to become familiar with it? If you're familiar with it, you'll kind of know that you remember reading something or feeling something about when this happens, that means that this is happening. When you get this way, it kind of means that this is happening. And then the soul can guide you on a way to being able to get in touch with what you need to do. Now, this isn't just available to those that have time, those that have money, those that have an ability to sit in the power, those that have a quiet mind, those that are spiritual. It's a God-given right to every single one of you. It's a God-given right to me, and it's a God-given right to you. However, if you at the very beginning chose that you wanted to be a self-starting car, as opposed to somebody to help you start, to crank up the front, then guess what? You're the person that's a self-starter. There's nobody that can tell you, you need to go and sit in the power now and find out what's happening. There's nobody that can tell you, you need to go and have a period of mindfulness so that you can get touch base with your soul. Those things that trigger our need to know our manual are ill health, bereavements, loss, struggles, moments of deception, moments of feeling isolated, betrayed, moments where you don't fit in or you've lost your direction. And what do? Well, actually, I don't know what you do, but what I used to do was to cry out to God and expect to come to my rescue. And finally, I realised I had to go within, because the part of me that's connected to the God force is my soul. The part of me that is me is my soul. And how do I get there? I look inward. So it sounds perhaps philosophical and maybe out with something that you might be able to do. But if you build up to it, 30 seconds of being mindful about thinking about doing it, to a minute to thinking about doing it, all the way up to actually doing it, can build up to a period of time where you become accepting of who you are and what you are, and you become at least a little bit more familiar with your manual, so that when something goes wrong, you know exactly how to get in touch with that place. You don't have to struggle to get there. You just naturally go in and get in touch because the answers are there. Because you know when the hardest time to get in touch with yourself and your soul is? When you're bereaved, when you're feeling lost, when you're feeling isolated, when you're feeling betrayed, when you're feeling on your own. So doesn't it make sense to perhaps have a little bit of familiarity with that manual so that you have some place to direct yourself to? It's well worth it. It's not just for the spiritual people. It's for you. It's for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kerry, and thank you so much, Shirley Ann. Well, my friends, we're going to continue on with our Sunday gathering into our demonstration of mediumship. And if this is your first time here, I'll give you some instruction of how this goes. Everybody else will get a reminder right now. Kerry, Shirley Ann, and myself are what Zoom calls panelists, right? So it's us speaking to now 164 people from around the world are at our Sunday gathering right now. During our medium demonstration, we'll get a handful of representatives from our Sunday gathering from the spirit world. So I like to say that they're panelists from the spirit world. Why this is important? Because I know we've got 164 souls today that maybe are all hoping that their loved one comes through. And while there will be a few folks that do have their loved ones come through, I want everybody to know that those that are picked from the spirit world, however they do it behind the scenes, that they're really here for all of us, just like Shirley Ann and Kerry's powerful words just now hit all of us. So we want you to pull forward or pull to you those messages and those bits of evidence that come through our mediums today. Can everybody do that? I hope so. I hope so. Because you'll find if you listen and you pull the gold to you, you think, oh, I could use a little of that myself. I absolutely could. So Shirley Ann will be our first medium, followed by Kerry. They will request from those in the spirit world who wish to work with them to present themselves. And anyone who's taken a class with Kerry and Phil know that the first place they look is in their feelings, not the pictures in their mind, which they may get, but they look to their feelings first. It's a little clue that we'll talk a little bit more about later. The loved ones, it could be a friend, it could be a family member, it could be somebody you worked with, could be somebody a little distant. We want everybody to be on the edge of your seat listening in to the evidence that they give, okay? They'll do a few words description about the person who has connected with them. And we are still people when we migrate to the other side with our unique personalities, which often come shining through with some of the messages that come through. So you'll hear each medium give a description about the person that's connecting with them. If you can understand 100% of that information as a person you know that no longer walks this earth, but if you can take all that whole description about that person, we want you to press your raise hand button. Now, this is time for you to find on your device where that raise hand button is and press it. For those of you who might be on a iPad, a tablet, a phone, you might see 3 dots. You might have to press that first, and then the raise hand will appear. Why this raise hand button is so important, and I ask everybody to get used to it every week. Now it says lower hand. You can press it again, and your hand will go down. Is sometimes there may be one or more than one person that can take all of the information. That being the case, our medium will work to give some more evidence so that ideally we're left with one hand raised. Now, I just want to remind everyone that we're well over 150 to get people together on our Sunday gathering. So if you can just take a little tiny bit of the message or the information or maybe some, don't press your raise hand button, only if you can take all of it, okay? So we're going to start with that just so we don't have 50 hands going up at the same time. Okay, now if you are someone last hand standing, so to speak, that works with our medium today, I'm going to press a button on my side. You're going to get a flash that pops up on your side that says host would like you to unmute. At that time and only that time, an unmute button will appear. Simply press that for us. Your face doesn't get shown, your camera is off, but we love to hear your voice. Now, when I say hear your voice, all we need from you is one of 3 responses. Let the medium do the work. All we need you to say is yes, no, or I don't know to the evidence that they give. It's important that you be honest, okay? Be honest. If something doesn't fit, a piece of evidence doesn't fit, you can say no. No simply means, as Kerry and Phil teach in their classes, a new opportunity and for the medium to work and dial in more what the information is that the loved one wants to say. Okay? Yes, no, or I don't know. And this goes for any medium reading you ever get ever in your life. It's very important, and we're working very hard to raise the level of integrity with mediums. So we don't feed the mediums. We want everybody to know that our mediums truly are working with loved ones who are in the spirit world, that you didn't volunteer all this information yourself. Okay? So that's what we try to do anyways, raise the level of integrity and mediumship on planet Earth. We love to play a piece of music before we go into our demonstration, and hopefully it'll cause some feel-good feelings. I know the song always does for me, but if you want to picture your loved ones by your side, feel good, maybe you take a trip down memory lane, a happy memory, who knows where this song will bring you. But we don't need a Sunday gathering for your loved ones to be close. They are with you. They continue to learn and discover and explore on the other side. But as we see each and every Sunday, they're just a thought or a heartbeat away. So let's play our song, and then we will have Shirley Ann be our first medium up on our Sunday gathering number 256. Here we go. Love that song. Thanks for picking it, Kerry, and welcome back, Shirley Ann.
Hello, and I have to agree, that song was great. I really enjoyed that. Okay, so as I move my awareness to the spirit world, I actually feel like I have a policeman with me. And I know this was a policeman that would have been in the police force, and I want to say veteran. He'd been there many years. He loved his job, and he was very well known for his job in the community. So can we pop that out there at this point, Sandra, please?
Sure. All right, friends, if this description fits somebody in your life that no longer walks this earth, go ahead and press your raise hand button. The policeman. Everybody's thinking, Shirley Ann. Everybody is, I know. No hands are up just yet.
He is in a uniform that looks to me to be the police force. Did we have a hand up there, Sandra?
It went up quick. Sophia or Sophie, could you take that information? Could have been by accident.
Okay.
We'll see.
This looks like a police uniform, but I'm in New Zealand, so I will say to you, I feel like it is a uniform to do with one of those government departments. It might be traffic, it might be police, it might be, I don't feel it's anything like special forces or anything like that. I feel as though this is a policeman that would have spent most of his life in the police force. I'm sorry for repeating myself, but he's strongly here.
No problem. Who can understand this gentleman? Our friends in the spirit world know exactly who's on our Sunday gathering today, so don't feel shy.
Okay. So if this gentleman is not in the spirit world, would we have somebody here who has because this might be helping me find my sitter. Lisa, you've got your
Lisa
hand
has her
up.
hand raised. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Shirley.
Hello, Lisa. If I'm correct, your husband was a police officer.
No, his brother was.
His brother was. Okay, I knew it was something close in there. But you would recognize that he'd been in the police force most of his life.
Yes.
And he loved what he did.
Yes.
And I feel as though you would be aware that he was awarded, I feel as though it was a plaque for length of service or service to community.
Yes.
Because I even feel as though he would interact with kids that he would find on the street, that shouldn't be there.
Yes.
And because of that, I know he had such a soft heart, because I do feel there was even one young lad in particular that you would understand he helped quite a bit.
Yes.
And because I feel this young lad's intelligence, and I know he used to make this policeman laugh.
Yes.
And even that Shrek song, well, not Shrek song, but with Shrek in it, I feel as though this gentleman would have actually been boogieing to that. He had such a sense of humor with him. Even though it would have been dad dancing, you would understand that.
Yes.
So I know he was a light-hearted gentleman, but he also had that very serious side, because there were things that happened. Lisa, am I correct in saying this gentleman served in New York?
No.
No, okay. But where he served, you would understand a busy criminal activity in that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I know he had a full breast of it. You couldn't shock this man. You'd have to try pretty hard, and even then you'd probably lose.
Yes, so sadly.
So what I'm trying to say is he's seen it all.
Yes.
I also feel as though this gentleman, I feel as though he would have had private guns or armory at home.
Yes.
I know he carried it in his work, but he also had his private sort of stash at home.
Yes.
And it shows his protection for his family. I mean, he was so, I think his job overflowed into his family life, where he would worry about the protection of his family so much.
Definitely.
And you would understand one of his children is a girl, a young lady.
No.
Okay. Then you would understand, well, I hope you understand, a young lady in the family that he was particularly concerned with. He tried to take under his wing and try and teach her the ways.
Yes.
Yes, because I know with this gentleman, he knew the fears out there, particularly for young women, and he was trying to equip her with the intelligence of the street, shall I say.
Yes.
And I feel something to do with this gentleman about teaching self-defense or showing self-defense.
Yes.
Because, I really think, again, this was dealing with a lot of young ones in this area. And the amount of young ones he affected and he helped, you would understand, was a large audience.
Yes.
So I really feel that this gentleman is remembered in many minds. I feel like there's a lot of minds that remember him kindly and have gratitude for his input into their lives.
Yes.
Because I really feel as though he left his mark on the community.
Yes.
I feel as though he was even in situations. Now, I know this is a man's man, so to speak, but I know he was put in situations that because I see scenes where he had to go in and deal with dead bodies and things like that. You would understand that.
Yes.
And I feel like I want to say I had to put my big girl pants on, or in this case, my big boy pants on to deal with this.
Yes.
So this is almost the message for you, I feel, Lisa. I feel as though that he's giving me the impression that you're having to deal with things around you that you've really got to put your big girl pants on and kind of face up to.
Yes.
Because I feel like there's situations, or he's letting me know that there's situations that you've put to the left that really need to come front and center again and be dealt with properly.
Mm.
Okay. Okay, I will take that as an acknowledgement because I feel it is to do with family.
Yes.
Yeah. And Lisa, I know that you're a strong enough lady to do what you have to do and work your way through it.
Thank you, Shirley Ann.
Keep this gentleman in mind because he's so full of strength for you. And I feel that strength as he's come in. He's brought a tear to my eye because you and he had such a lovely bond. Even though, he was your husband's brother, I feel as though you two really bonded and got on like one of the boys.
Yes.
So it's a big hello, and it feels like the station upstairs is in good hands.
Thank you, Shirley Ann.
My pleasure, Lisa. You have a wonderful day.
You as well.
Okay. Now, Sandra, as I leave my mind in the spirit world, which is actually my favorite place to be, I might add, I do feel as though I have a lady in the spirit world, and I do feel as though this would be Mum. So I feel like all you girls out there, all you gals, listen up. I do feel as though when Mum passed, and I hope I'm not offending anyone, but I feel as though you had to get the teeth and put them in. Now, I feel like when you were putting the teeth in, it was quite hard. It wasn't an easy task for you, and it took a little bit of working in there, but you were not going to allow Mum to not have her teeth in, shall I say. Can we put that in, Sandra? Out there,
Thank
Sandra.
you so much. All right. Who does this information resonate with? Please press your raise hand button.
Okay, so we're taking a little while there. So I'll take out the relationship. I feel this is a person close to you, so I will go grandmother. It's either mother or grandmother. This is a person that's very close to you, and I feel like you would have spent time with them growing up.
All right, Leora has her hand raised. Leora, if you could press your unmute button. Hi, Leora.
Hi, Sandra. Hi, Shirley Ann.
Leora, what a beautiful name. My goodness, your mum's hit the jackpot. That's a very romantic name. Just rolls off the tongue. Now, I feel as though you did
Thank
spend
you.
time with your grandmother when you were
Yes,
growing up.
yes,
And quite a
yes,
bit of time, actually. I feel like you used to love going to Nana's house and you'd literally run to her house.
yes,
And I feel as though when your grandmother passed, it left, because there's such a sadness here with you, it left this massive hole. And she's giving me the impression that when she passed, it really took a lot out of you to help process this passing.
yes, yes,
Um,
yes.
all righty. And Grandma's taking me back to some memories. I know that she would play games with you. She wasn't a lady, like she'd get down and play games with you
Yes.
when you were younger. And I also feel she had an opinion on the boys that you brought home.
Yes.
Some opinions were good and some opinions were not quite. But I don't feel as though this was a lady that would butt in. She would certainly give you her thoughts, but I don't feel as though she would butt in.
No, yes, no.
And I feel as though your mum would butt in, but not grandma. But I do feel as though you and grandma shared some very intimate conversations when you were growing up.
Yes.
And particularly about men in your life. Like grandma seemed to be an encyclopedia of experience. And I have to say, you have some photos of grandma, and in those photos, she was such a beauty in her younger days.
Yes.
And because I feel like she's letting me know I was very beautiful. I feel as though I have a slim body, and her taste in her clothing was, she had lovely taste in what she wore. I feel her presentation when she was younger was always there. In fact, right through her life.
Yes and no, but yes, I'll take that.
Okay. Towards the end of her life, perhaps her presentation changed, because I feel as though Nana, she's letting me know here, she did fall ill, and this is what caused her passing.
Yes.
Yes. But I feel as though the illness, it lingered a little bit, and you would understand that.
Yes.
And I feel as though that you were involved in her caring.
Yes.
And I feel as though she's letting me know that you'd actually sit and read to her sometimes.
Yeah, yes and no. Sit with her all the time, yeah.
Okay. I just feel a huge amount of love and gratitude for, I have to say, you stopped your life to be able to care for this lady.
Yes.
It was very important for you to have the feeling that you've done the best you can for a woman that you dearly loved.
Yes. Yes.
And I know that even extended to, she's letting me know here, taking care of her dignity, making
Yes.
sure that she had clean clothes,
Yes.
making sure her bed, etc., her room, everything was as comfortable as it could be. And am I correct in saying you would bring her fresh flowers?
Sometimes, not often, yeah.
Because I also feel like there would have been flowers in her garden.
Yes.
And because I feel sometimes those flowers would have been picked when she had a flower garden and brought inside. But this
Yes.
lady, she's showing me lots of lovely memories, like you would understand her trying to teach you how to cook, or being involved when she was cooking.
Um, Yes and no. Yes. I would say, okay, I'll say yes.
Okay. But yes, this lady, oh, she's also letting me know here that there were times you'd follow her around with lots of questions.
Possibly. Can't remember. Possibly.
Okay, it's possibly just too long ago, but it feels like you would ask lots of questions. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel Grandma
Actually, yes.
chuckling.
Yeah.
She's really chuckling about this. Well, really, I want to bring in a lot of love from Grandma. I want to bring in the remembrance of those lovely times as you were growing up.
Thank you very much.
There's an understanding here of, you know, how your life and how your world has changed from those days as everybody's does.
Yes.
But I feel like she wants to bring you those warm, loving memories just to help on those days when things just don't make sense.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
How are we going here? Thank you very much. We'll move over to Kerry. Shirley Ann, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Shirley Ann. And it is, I think this might be the first time we've shared a Sunday gathering. Or is it the second time? Okay. Oh, and I remember the first so well. Okay, thanks, Shirley Ann. Okay. I do know I'm looking for somebody, and I have to start this way, who has fairly recently, probably within the last 6 months. Okay. Okay. I know I have somebody here, and I know I'm going to change that first statement. I know you would have been to an area of New York called Dumbo. It's an area that goes downhill and it looks at, I cannot remember the name of the bridge, but and I wouldn't be surprised if you've been there more than once and you would have Dad in the spirit world that would have been there with you. I actually have a number of different people here, but I'm looking for somebody in our audience that has been to that area of New York and has seen all the houses, and it brings back memories. And I know there were some programs filmed in that area as well.
Thank you very much. Did you say Dumbo?
Yes.
I've never heard of that area. Wow. All right. Who does this resonate with?
Anybody that's been there will know about it.
Okay, thank you. Who can understand this information? Press your raise hand button. No hands up just yet, Kerry.
Okay. I know there's a number of different people here, but I also know I have a young lady. I would almost say, yeah, young lady. It feels like daughter. And I know she gives me this impression of, I don't know what Dumbo stands for. Each letter stands for an area. And it's a well-known walk for those that are visiting New York. Would somebody here understand daughter in the spirit world that you would have that either has been to Dumbo and showed you about it, but you would also have Dad in the spirit world?
Thank you. Jane has her hand raised. Jane, if you could press your unmute button. Hi, Jane.
Hi. Hi, Kerry.
Hi, Jane. Do you understand what I'm saying about your daughters having experiences of this area of New York?
I'm not sure what area. I'm actually originally from New York. I used to live there. I don't know the area, but she loved New York, and my dad was also a New Yorker.
Okay. Then, oh goodness, I cannot remember what Dumbo stands for. I've got friends that would know. On one of the areas, I'm sure it's the Is it a Bronx Bridge or where you look across? It's a bridge. Oh,
Brooklyn?
Brooklyn Bridge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where there's a hill, and when you look over, you actually see the bridge crossing from one part to the other. Would that be an area that you recognized as being in or living in?
Well, there's a couple. I mean, there's the George Washington Bridge. There's the Brooklyn Bridge.
Would you have memories with your daughter of being in an area where you looked over the river and there was a bridge above?
Above. Yes, I mean, we've been there a couple times.
Okay.
I think we
And
were in Lower Manhattan a lot. We were all over the place, but we've also been over the
okay,
George
that makes
W.
sense
Bridge a
then.
lot. Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's where down under Manhattan Bridge. Thank you, Linda Lee. I was just about to say it is in Manhattan. That's what Dumbo stands for, down under the Manhattan Bridge overpass. And your daughter would have had, she would have known a lot about New York, a lot about its history and the building of its bridges.
Probably, yes.
And your daughter wasn't a teeny tiny girl when she passed the spirit, Jane. She was somewhat grown up.
She was not teeny tiny.
Oh,
Yeah, she was getting older. Yes.
yeah. I also get a sense that she had a very, very creative mind because as with
Uh-huh.
photographs, she must have taken photographs but captured them in different ways.
I'm sure she did. And yes, she was incredibly creative. Yes.
Because I know there would have been photographs that she took that would have been at an angle and slightly out of
Yeah.
focus at certain areas. I also know that her integrity, she must have had quite a leader role in as she was growing up. She would have been that person that was given positions of responsibility and leadership.
Yes, in some ways, yes, she
Because
was.
I know she mentored people and she acted as that mentor for younger children. I know too that you would have recently come across some of her school work.
Yes, yes.
And when you were looking through the school work, you've been able to see that her handwriting actually didn't change from where you saw it in the school books to when she was older.
I think you're right. I think that's correct. I never thought about that.
And if you go back to, you have one of her English, we call them jotters here, but school books.
Yes, many.
In one of those English school books is either a poem or a
Yes,
series of, and it was written by your daughter.
yes, yes. That's
Okay,
correct.
because I know this creativity showed very, very early on for her. I also know that she would have had periods of time where she really struggled with her emotions.
Yes,
Because I know this is about feelings, the power of feelings. She felt very deeply.
absolutely. Yes.
And I know that the impact she left behind on people was how she made them feel.
I think so. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
You would have had people say to you, they remember your daughter because they remember her doing this for others or saying this on behalf of someone.
Yes, we had a beautiful written tribute by many people.
Because I know this is how she presents to me. And her passing would have been in the winter months, Jane.
No.
Then you would, Jane, would you know your father passed in the winter months?
Um, no, no.
Then I know I see a picture of down under the Manhattan Bridge overpass. In the winter months, you will find that photograph in your daughter's possessions. You will know that you'll find lots of pictures. And I know this is her way of wanting to be there with you. I know that you said you were from there, but you must be planning a trip.
To New York?
No, just a trip because you've been wondering whether your daughter gives
We
me the
are.
impression you've
We
been
are.
wondering whether to go or not.
We are. Yeah, it's just a matter of when. Yes. Yes, that's correct.
Just beware. I know your daughter leaves you signs and little gestures and loving gestures. Be aware how she guides you as to when that should be.
Wait, I'm sorry, say that again?
Be aware of how she leaves little signs of
Okay.
when this trip should be.
Okay.
Because I know she seems to have the lowdown on when it should be.
Okay.
Okay, Jane, I'm going to leave your daughter's love with you, and your father is here, and I know you would have asked them to be together and for them to let you know they're fine and well. They absolutely are. And I know that I've got a lovely group of people here all looking after her.
Oh, thank you so much,
You're
Kerry.
very
I'm
welcome. Thank
completely
you.
gobsmacked. That was fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for the people in the audience that gave me a help with the
Amazing.
name
Thank
too.
you.
Okay, I have a charming group of men. Okay, I have a group of men with me. I know that one of them is brother. I know that one of them is father. And I get the feeling that one of them is son as well. I get the sense that there would be memories within the family. It looks like cricket, but that's a very British thing. Would somebody in the audience understand son and father and brother in the spirit world, but the family must have been very strong cricket supporters? I know it's cricket because they have the white outfit on and the red cricket ball.
Thank you very much. Janet, you put your hand up quick and then it went down.
I'm saying cricket's a very British thing, but it's not, is it? Cricket's all
Jeanette,
over the world.
Jeanette, you have your hand raised. Can you press your unmute button?
Yeah,
Hi,
I
Jeanette.
I understand everything but cricket. You sure it wasn't football or baseball?
I see the white outfits. Baseball's where they've got the grid over their face, isn't it? And
That's the catcher, yes.
this is very much cricket. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay. Never mind.
No, that's all right. Keep listening in. Janet has her hand raised.
Yes,
Hi,
I'm
Janet.
back.
Hi.
Hi, Sandra. I'm back. Could it be soccer?
No, no, this is cricket. They're in
Okay,
the
sorry.
pristine white outfits. I feel they either went to cricket games. If it's not gone to cricket games, they must have lived very close to a cricket ground. I mean, cricket grounds are fairly large.
No for Janet. Now, Kath has her hand raised. Oh, we got a few hands raised. Are you there, Kath?
Hello.
Hi, Kath. Hello.
Oh, hello. So, my dad used to play cricket and he also used to go to watch the cricket regularly. And I do have, well, those are the two males in the spirit world as well.
Okay. Okay. Now, I know you, Kath, but I don't believe I've ever done a reading for you.
Correct.
Okay. Now, your dad must have been very much I always see cricketers as one who follow the rules and very British. So your dad must have been that way. Does that translate?
Most of the time.
Because I get the sense here that he is all about rules and stiff upper lip, and he was. Kath, would you also know that your dad had a way about him that you wouldn't have always agreed with?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm suddenly just getting another sense of him being this way. Now, Kath, I was completely unaware that you had the other two relationships in the spirit world, but I know that your dad is holding a young baby. Would you understand that to be your son?
Yes.
Okay. And I know you would have asked the spirit world to look after this baby when your son passed.
Yeah.
But I also get the sense that your brother, just as I feel him coming in, your brother must have been a real wind-up merchant.
He was a baby too. But I have a brother here, and he is.
Something about this I'm not quite understanding. Kath, your mum is still here.
Yes, she is.
Can I double check? I know there were other hands, but I'm not saying I'm not with you, Kath. But can I double check? Because I actually get a sense that brother's a real wind-up merchant. If somebody else understands this, hang on, Kath. If somebody does understand this, could you put up your hand and let me know?
Is there someone else that can understand all this information?
Okay. If it's not Kath and your brother here, he must have wound your dad up.
Yeah.
And your dad would have had moments where he kind of lost his temper with your brother.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, okay, I've got it the wrong way around, forgive me. I get the sense from your dad as well that he was a real follow the rules, my way, or don't bother.
Well, not exactly. I can't, I know I don't want to feed you and you don't want me to, but not exactly that way. No.
Okay, then I get the sense that your dad had to put up a lot with your brother.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, because I feel your dad's impatience here, but I also feel his love for your brother.
Yes. Yeah.
I get the sense that with these, you have contact with your son in the spirit world, Kath.
I have, yes.
Okay, because I know I get this little bitty baby, but he feels very much of a personality at that young age. And the only way I would get that is if you already recognize him by the power that he brings.
Yeah.
I've got from your dad as well, him wanting to keep an eye on within the family, because with your brother at the moment, you would know the reason that your dad sees him perhaps winding people up a bit more than he should.
That would not surprise me, Kerry.
And I know because your mum is still here that there are concerns there. I know enough about that relationship, but I know your dad wants to affirm with you that whatever you're doing, the patience is very much appreciated from your dad.
Oh, I'm not sure I am. But thank you.
I know the way you're being is very much appreciated by your dad
Thank you.
because he never had the patience um, he wouldn't have put up with as much as you're putting up with.
And that takes some beating, really. But
Oh.
thank you.
I'm going to leave that with you.
Okay.
And I know that your son's passing must be coming up to an anniversary.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
He knows it. He's there. He sends his love. Not that you need to hear, but I know he sends his love to you. Thanks for allowing me to do that. And thanks for being patient as I worked through that. Thanks, Kath.
Thank you, Kerry, and lots of love to you and to Phil and to Sandra as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. It has been an absolute delight to share the gathering with Sandra and Shirley Ann. So I'm going to pass it back to Sandra.
Oh, thank you so much, Kerry and Shirley Ann. Folks, this just gives you a little taste that our loved ones are still alive. They're still with us. They're still part of our lives. We can still talk to them. They witness what we are doing. And in just a moment, let me make a few announcements, and I'll tell you a few words for the week from me. First of all, we've got some Join Anytime classes. They've started 2 weeks in, but we have a class called Trance in the Altered States with Scott Milligan. And then on Thursdays, we have The Gentle Path to Spirit, Deepening Your Connection and Nurturing Your Natural Gifts with Kerry and Phil. You can join by watching them in your own time, or you can join the classes live. Certainly, when you register, you'll get the first couple of classes. They're beautiful classes that really help you make that soul connection. So I can't recommend them enough. Everything I mentioned is at wedon'tdie.com. You can click on the store page. You can see everything coming up. Click on next week's Sunday gathering to register. We've got some medium demonstrations. Also, Darren and Dominic Bogue will be with us next week. Our dear friend Sonia Rinaldi will be giving a presentation on the images and voices from the afterlife. She's an afterlife researcher. She's always incredible when she comes with us. wedon'tdie.com. You can go to the Sunday Gathering page. You can watch past replays for a little empowerment. Register for the next upcoming many. Also at wedon'tdie.com, we've got a wonderful Facebook group which we can interact with each other, which is kind of tough to do here other than the chat box, but we do read all your messages in the chat box. Also, I've got 2 great new podcast episodes on Shades of the Afterlife. It's listeners' stories of signs from their loved ones. They can be ever so gentle or bigger, but they are really wonderful signs from other fellow listeners. And I have a new episode on We Don't Die from Dr. Mark Pitstick, who's an afterlife pioneer. Some really wonderful words about afterlife evidence and also that help through grief, because I tell you, we need it. We believe, but we need some help because, yes, I know Kerry, Shirley Ann, and you can agree that grief is the toughest pain that we go through. If you don't yet have a copy of my book and you'd like one, I'm happy to give you the PDF copy just at the bottom of the page at wedon'tdie.com. Just enter your name and email address. It says it's the first few chapters of the book. Secret is it's the entire book. Chapter 10 has some real helpful advice and words on grief. Now, speaking of words, I just wanted to share something personal to me on feelings. You see me, I've got a big smile on my face, but I'm not like that 24/7. No, I'm not. Sometimes I get myself in a little tough way, too many thoughts in my head. There's feelings of things coming up or things I should have done. I get in that way. I know we all do. We can self-generate our feelings, just as Kerry and Shirley Ann were talking about. For me, sometimes I need to put on music from the 80s. Yes, I went to high school in the 1980s. I'm an 80s girl. Sometimes that does it for me. Sometimes it's, I can write on a piece of paper some of the accomplishments I've had in life. Sometimes we're faced with things that we have to do and we just can't do it or we procrastinate. We can remind ourselves of who we really are. Write down some of those challenges that you've had, tough times, or some of those accomplishments you've done. Then you can look at that piece of paper and feel that sense of empowerment. Hey, if I've done all that, certainly I can clean my room or make a phone call or whatever it is that you're worried about. We can also do some physical things. You can get up and dance. You can do the Y from the YMCA. Yes, you can. You can do the Superman pose. You can put a smile on your face for 30 seconds or a minute. I know these things seem maybe silly, but they're things that we can do physically that all of a sudden, boy, you start feeling that empowerment. Like Kerry said, we come with our instructions, but sometimes we need a little jump start, don't we? And that will do it as well. As far as feelings go, too, it is the easiest way that our loved ones have to communicate. I know they're trying to turn the lights on and off and all those things, but the most gentle way that they have really is coming through our feelings. I'm always amazed at Kerry and Phil's classes that instead of looking for pictures in your head, you're going first to your feelings. Like I said before my reading, if we can get present, pay attention to those feelings, you might just find out of the blue, you'll get a feeling or a memory or emotion of something that you did with your loved one. Those are those gentle calling cards that I'm right here with you. The more that we can be present to them, you'll find like a flower that they can open, they can unfold. Next thing you know, you're talking to them. Remember this, working through that feeling center, getting our imagination involved. Really trust that. That's how our loved ones can communicate. Just yesterday, I was busy doing something, but I was in the present moment doing it. And I got a whoosh and I was on the beach on Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, with a special dear person that is no longer walking this earth. Just a little calling card. Hey, Sandra, I'm still here with you. It was nice. It was. So all I want to say is pay attention to those feelings. We can self-generate, and like our words create our world, our feelings can give us power. And my friend, we can get anything done. So last thing I want to say before I turn it over to Shirley Ann, I want to thank all of our friends who have donated to make our Sunday gathering possible. We couldn't do it without you. So we thank you for your donations. If you wish to donate, just go to the Sunday gathering page at wedon'tdie.com. With that, I'll turn it over to Shirley Ann for our closing prayer, please.
If we could all just come together for a quiet moment, as this is the end of our, I think, 256 gathering, if I have that right, which is phenomenal. Divine and loving Spirit, it is with great gratitude in our hearts that you've enabled us to all come together and be as one, to share the thoughts that we send to our loved ones, and for many of us on a daily basis, the beautiful memories that we have with people who have just gone next door, a step to the left. Dear Divine Spirit, as we leave this gathering today, please be with us and help us to understand the power of our feelings. Help us to understand ourselves even more and at a deeper level. Help us understand our spirit, our soul, and more importantly, to listen in the quietness, to help us overcome the small things in life, the things that stand in our way of looking at the bigger picture. Our lives we can make wonderful by changing some of our patterns. The power of feeling in every aspect is so powerful. As we draw this meeting to a close, I'd like to send a kiss and a hug to all our loved ones in the spirit world and let them know that we're just sitting, communicating with them, thinking about them, and being with them. And we know that we do not walk alone. Amen.
Thank you so much, Shirley Ann, and thank you, Kerry and Phil. We love you behind the scenes. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in the world, thank you for being here. And of course, to our friends in the spirit world, we'll keep paying attention. We know you're talking to us. So as we go into our closing song, it's something that will stir the soul. So be present, pay attention to those feelings, and take the challenge. Here we go. I'm still flooded with goosebumps. That was Disturbed The Sound of Silence. Wow. Be silent, be present. Feelings are powerful. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being here today. And we hope we see you next week, if not sooner. WeDon'tDie.com. You can find it all. Mwah. Bye, everyone. See you soon. Thanks, Kerry. Thanks, Shirley Ann.